If you've missed the news, MiHoYo have already started teasing the new characters that will be coming up in patch 1.2. First, it was Caesar King, the physical defender, and next was Burnice, the fire anomaly unit. Unfortunately though, the day after that, there was nothing. No mention of Lighter, even though we know for a fact he does have a model in-game. And we also know that of course he is a member of the Sons of Caledon. So whether or not he will still be showing up as either an A rank or a future S rank, we'll have to wait and see. But let's talk about the other two that were shown off, and whether or not we should start saving up for their banners. I know patch 1.2 is quite a while away since we're only just about to get patch 1.1 now, but the sooner we start saving, the better. Now, saving right now would mean potentially skipping QingYi and Jane Doe's banners, who are also shiny new limited S ranks. So how do we choose? Well, first off, as always, we can go off of their designs. As the age-old adage goes, pull for who you like. I personally really like Caesar's design, and even though we've seen very little of her personality-wise, the stern girl boss type attitude seems really cool to me, compared to say QingYi, who we have been able to see quite a bit of even now in the launch version of the game, except she's kinda just, very stoic, which I mean does make sense since she is an android after all. But take for example Xuyen in comparison to QingYi. Xuyen has so much more character and personality, and she just seems so much more, lifelike, right? Again, makes sense, she's an actual human, not an android. Now of course that could just be because they knew that Xuyen would be in the first banner, so they showed her off more in there, and maybe we'll get more of a backstory to QingYi in patch 1.1, but all I'll say is that I always smile whenever I interact with Xuyen in the, the messaging apps and stuff like that. I'm not sure if I'll do the same with QingYi. Jane Doe, on the other hand, we have very little to go off of. Not just from the fact that we haven't seen much of her in-game, in fact, we've barely seen her at all, but we barely know anything about her in terms of lore. Like, okay, she's part of the public security because she's an undercover agent. Again though, I'm sure patch 1.1 will shed a lot more light onto these characters, and maybe that'll sway some people's minds who were on the fence about pulling them. Also, to me, the concept of the Sons of Caledon are also just so much cooler than the police, especially since it does seem like we will be meeting them in the Outer Ring, which is where Perlman escaped to during the main story. So there's a lot of cool new things surrounding the Sons of Caledon in general as a faction. New areas, new people, new boss, and whatnot. But moving on to the more analytical reasons as to why one might want to save for Caesar and Burnice as opposed to QingYi and Jane Doe. Firstly, let's look at their roles. As of late, there has been a lot of discussion about whether or not QingYi is good because of how much competition there are for stunners. Now, the majority of the responses does seem to be that yes, QingYi is probably one of the best stunners. But the question is she that much better than say Anbi or the standard S ranks? It's to be expected that she'll be better than the rest since she is a limited unit after all, but everyone has Anbi, and it's always possible for people to accidentally stumble across one of Colida or Lycan. And I know, right now, everyone is saying, if you only have Anbi, you need to have a second stunner. But do you really though? I think most people are saying that they need a second stunner because of the current Shiyu defense modifiers that heavily favor stun units. Because that's the only place where you would need a second stun unit after all. But you have to remember, MiHoYo does this on purpose. Whenever they release a new character, the endgame content modifier will adapt to match that featured unit. I'm sure when Jane's banner comes around that the new modifier will be something to do with like, say, anomaly buildup or anomaly damage increase, to get people to suddenly think that they need to have 2 disorder teams or something like that. So is it really worth spending however many polychromes you have in order to get QingYi just so you can get back like what, an extra 200 polychromes from Shiyu defense? Now of course this argument can be applied to pretty much everyone else, right? Do you need Caesar or Burnice or Jane even? I would say that you need to pull for whatever makes you happy. And for me personally, what makes me happy, aside from character designs and personalities, is having variety. Like I said, whenever I interact with Xuyen, it puts a smile on my face every day, and I can't wait to do that with Caesar as well. And I myself personally like using Ben, the defender, which I know a lot of people hate, but I would love to have another defender to mess around with. In fact, I would love to have a team of pure defenders with Seth, Ben, and Caesar. Sure, it may not be the best option, but it's what I think will be fun. As for Jane though, she's kind of in a similar spot as QingYi, although in a slightly better position, because the only other S-rank anomaly unit is Grace right now, and you do actually benefit from having several anomaly units if you want to go for a disorder team, where you apply 2 anomalies at once. The thing is though, Piper does exist, and she is also a physical anomaly unit like Jane. Now I'm sure when we get closer to her banner, everyone will start doing the Piper versus Jane comparisons and realize that, technically speaking, Jane is like 52.7% better than Piper, or something like that. But after seeing the 1.1 banners, it actually revealed a potentially big thing for Caesar's banner. Now I say this assuming that Caesar is going to be the first banner of patch 1.2 since she was shown off first, but if you look at all of the banners so far, specifically the A ranks, Ellen had Anton and Sokaku, Xuyen had Ben and Nicole, QingYi will have Billy and Corin, and Jane will have Seth and Anbi. that leaves just 2 A rank units who have not been featured at all on any banner. And those are Lucy and Piper, the 2 other Sons of Caledon members. So I may be coping a bit here, but honestly, a banner of Caesar, Lucy and Piper sound like the absolute dream team, doesn't it? I mean, honestly, if you get a Caesar there and you can max out Lucy and Piper, that would be like the ideal goal, right? Lucy, I'm sure everyone knows, is a really good support unit. And if you don't go for Jane, you can max out a Piper, and she's probably going to be on par maybe with Jane. As it stands, of course, though, Caesar is in a very mysterious spot, as we don't really have the precedent of how good an S-rank defender would be. I mean, so far, again, we only have Ben to go off of, and he's not exactly the most offensive threat out there. But what I can say for sure is that, maybe aside from Seth, Caesar will absolutely be something brand new to play around with at least. As for Burnice, again, since we don't know anything about her kit, it's hard to say, but she is, quote-unquote, another anomaly unit. Kind of like how Jane is just yet another anomaly unit. So you could choose either or even maybe go for both Burnice and Jane and have that be your disorder team. But again though, like I said, at the end of the day, this is all just a game, and I am not your father, so I can't tell you what to do. But I'd love to hear what all of your plans are for the future characters in the comments down below. And while you're at it, consider liking and subscribing too. I hear it increases your chances of getting an S rank, by the way. Otherwise, until next time, bye bye.